Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Need I Say Myrrh, the Christmas podcast. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Rachel Campbell. Hello, Rachel. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, Adam. Lovely to be with you.
It's good to have you. Do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners? Who are you? Where are you? What do you do? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so I'm Rachel Campbell. There's usually a few of us around in Christian circles, Rachels.
Yep.
I'm Welsh by birth and heritage, and proudly so. I was born and brought up in Wrexham, but I'm living in exile in England. So I'm in Stockport in Greater Manchester. Although I can't really claim exile, it's not that far away because my husband is very much in exile because he's a New Zealander. So we've got an international dimension to our family.
Mhm.
We have three essentially young adult children, Ben, Grace, and Lydia. And what do I do? Well, I do a variety of bits and pieces, really. I work part
Mhm.
time for the Nazarene Theological College in Didsbury, which is where I did my MA in theology a few years ago. And in between times, do a bit of writing, I do a bit of speaking, and quite a lot of kind of caring within the church, pastoral work, and things like that.
I don't think we've got any other people who live in Wales who are actually on the podcast, but we've got a few Welsh people in exile, so it's good to have some Welsh representation. And then we've got me on every episode as an English person in the greatest country in Wales, so it's that's good. And you also we were chatting a bit before the recording. You did say that you love Christmas. That's a promising start.
I do. I love Christmas. Yeah, I've loved Christmas since I was a little girl. My parents, I think probably they scrimped and saved for Christmas, but Christmas was very important to us as a family as I was growing up.
Good. Well, that's good, and we'll see what opinions on Christmas that's left you with as you've been celebrating Christmas every year. And we'll get into the questions, and starting with question one, which is, what is your favourite Christmas decoration?
Well, that's quite an easy one, Adam, because I have three rather tasteful baubles that have the children's names on them, and they go, yeah, they're good. They're nice, and they go very near the top of our Christmas tree. Not at the top, but near the top, as evenly spread as we can manage, because we have a real Christmas tree. I considered that. I know it's a bit of an indulgence, but I love a real tree. I love the smell of it. And well, I should say actually, we now have three trees, which is a bit excessive. There was a year that we were doing a building project, and so our house was kind of, a lot of it was sectioned off and we couldn't use it. So we only had one small room we were kind of living in. So we bought a pencil tree, and ever since that's become a tradition that goes in the small room, and then the real tree. And then one year, a couple of years ago, my daughter and I were going around B&Q when they were selling off potted Christmas trees. So we bought one of those, and it goes out in the garden for most of the year, and then it comes back in at Christmas. So yeah, we have Christmas trees everywhere. And I've got to that stage in life when what I wished for when the children were younger has come true. And we no longer have everything thrown at a Christmas tree. We have a very coordinated, very stylish tree, and we discuss the colours in advance and all that kind of thing. When the children were little, we just put everything on, lanterns, toilet roll lanterns, and everything. But it has been filtered through the years, so it's a bit more minimalist now.
I'm interested also by the three trees. I was chatting to someone in the church yesterday whose daughter has seven Christmas trees in her house. So I'm wondering which of our listeners has the most amount of Christmas trees in their house. That could be a fun competition, couldn't it?
Oh, that worked, wouldn't it? That'd be a lot.
And we do welcome correspondence on this podcast. Maybe you could get in touch if you have. We'll take your three as the starting point, Rachel. If you have more than three Christmas trees in your house this year, please get in touch. Needisaymyrrh@gmail.com. That's needisaymyrrh@gmail.com. We'll produce a leaderboard by the end of the season.
Adam, I'm actually gonna up it. I've just remembered one of our daughters puts a tree in her room. So actually we have four. There you go. That's inflation.
Four is the number to beat. And maybe between the time of this recording and all your decorations going up, maybe you'll add another one. You'll have to let us know. Well, let's move on to festive food then. For this season, I'm interested in knowing what is your least favourite festive food?
Well, this is really boring, and I think it's going to be the stereotypical answer. It's sprouts. I hate sprouts. I absolutely hate them. But I was thinking, what can I say that's a little bit more imaginative than that? And I've decided that, when you have your Christmas turkey and you have it for several days of leftovers, and that's great. And I love leftovers because it saves cooking. Put the effort into the day and then have a rest for a couple of days thereafter. But there comes a point where you think, I just can't do this again. So you freeze that last portion of Christmas turkey, shove it in the freezer, wrapped in tinfoil, and you find it months later and it's the most unappetizing thing. So I think that's a close second to my least favorite Christmas food, that leftover turkey that is neglected. And sometimes I think, was it this year that went in, or was it last year that went in?
Yeah, how many years has it been in the freezer?
So that's another reason to just throw it out.
But normally you're a big fan of turkey when it has been like freshly cooked.
I did experiment a little bit. I think I had goose one year, but no, I've gone back. We always have turkey.
And so alongside the turkey, then let's think more positive. What else would be like the key bits that you would have for your Christmas dinner?
Well, I have to confess that over recent years, my husband's taken over cooking most of Christmas dinner. So I still make cranberry sauce from fresh, and I still make bread sauce, but he tends to do the bird, and he tends to the potatoes. He will do a huge dish of stuffing, meat stuffing. He'll do cauliflower cheese. It's a bit a la Jamie, but yeah, we have everything. The only thing we don't make, but I buy in copious amounts, are pigs in blankets, because my children, even now, and like I said, they're young adults. My children even now will like a day later in the week where I have bought so many that we just have those for a meal later. Between Christmas and New Year, we'll have a dinner where it's just pigs in blankets.
It's a classic dinner, isn't it? Or you can have it for any meal. You could have it for breakfast, couldn't you?
Yeah, decadent but nice.
Christmas time is the time to have decadent breakfast, isn't it? Do you have a Christmas Day breakfast that you normally go for? We're a croissant family that we normally have croissants on.
That's nice. No. We do have some food traditions around Christmas, but that might come into another one of your questions.
That's a good transition. Maybe you should be hosting this podcast instead. But we go on to the next question, which is, what are your Christmas Eve traditions, and do any of them involve food?
Oh, yes. As I was thinking about this, I think we've almost got as many Christmas Eve traditions as we have Day traditions, almost. And they've kind of grown over the years. So a Christmas Eve for us would start with a marathon of family veg peeling. So we do that Christmas Eve morning before, like I said, my husband will take over and he'll do some of his cooking the day before. He'll start some of that. While we were in COVID, it was quite hard. There were no real festivities to have. Our children, one of them celebrated a 21st, one of them celebrated an 18th, and it was a bit of a non-event in COVID. So we decided at that point, on birthdays, we were going to do a cheese board, a really gorgeous cheese board. And my girls do Pinterest perfect cheese boards. And we've extended that to Christmas Eve. So sometime on Christmas Eve, either for lunch or dinner, whichever works better, we will have a really lovely cheese board that they take a lot of pleasure in. And yeah, I couldn't do it. I haven't got the patience to make something look that good. So that's it's a veg peeling, cheese board, and then I think the bigger one, what we've done since the children were little. So we went, and this is controversial, we went down the full Santa route. It didn't enter my head not to be honest, from a Christian point of view. So no presents appear under the tree until Christmas morning. And it still makes Christmas Eve a very long night for me and my husband. So no presents would appear under the tree until Christmas Day, except for after dinner on Christmas Eve or tea or whatever it was. We were three presents would magically appear, one for each of the children, and they would always be pajamas, always sleepwear. In more recent years, we may have done a fluffy blanket or two, but largely pajamas. And that was a ruse to try and get the children to get into their pajamas. And then as soon as they were, we would have a family service. on Christmas Eve. And our family service, when the children were little, would be as simple as, reading a children's version of the Nativity. And then we would always sing Away in a Manger, which was an indulgence to me. And in more recent years, as they've got older, we would ask one of the kids to prepare a family service where they choose the readings, and we'd have obviously not all of them, but we'd have a couple of readings, and we'd take turns to pray. So that's our Christmas Eve. And it's good fun.
Yeah, no, that's a lovely tradition to have those little services and to have the children involved in what happens in them. Yeah, and a good way to get prepared for Christmas Day, not just practically, but also remembering the what it's all about, and with all the busyness of stuff going on, to remember again the birth of Jesus. Yeah. So that brings us to the final question I have on my list of questions, which is, what is your favorite Christmas carol?
This has been my favourite Christmas carol since I was a teenager, so it's definitely Hark the Herald. I mean, Wesley words and Mendelssohn tune, what's not to like? Although I did listen to one of your guests last year talking about its kind of evolution as a carol. But anyway, I'm going with Wesley and Mendelssohn. So I love Hark the Herald, and I don't really consider it Christmas unless I've sung it at least once. So it should be in every service, I think. And I don't know what it is. I think Wesley is a brilliant wordsmith. I think that he manages to get the enormity of the divine in an economy of words. I just love that. I love his such short phrases and such rich phrases. And I think particularly, his view of such things as humility and the dual nature of Christ. And I think that a lot of the traditional carols and some of the more modern ones, they reflect the things that I think Mary thought about. We're told twice in Luke chapter 2, once after the visitation of the shepherds, that Mary pondered these things. And what was it Mary pondered as she watched the baby Jesus? And I think it's the humility of God incarnate. And I think that the carols we sing reflect that rather wonderfully. Not just Hark the Herald, across the board. I lost my mum this year. My mum passed away. That's what will make Christmas slightly different this year, not to have mum. But her favourite carol, which is not sung very often because it's quite old-fashioned, was "Thou didst leave thy throne and thy kingly power when thou camest to earth for me." And I just love pondering the words of carols. And you kind of, because we tend to sing traditional carols in a way that we don't sing repeatedly traditional hymns maybe as much anymore, I think the words are very familiar, and there's a comfort in that.
And that familiarity as well, that where things change with Christmases, as you mentioned, that sadly your Christmas in one way will be quite different from previous years, without your mum being around. That there's that comfort in knowing that the news of Christmas remains the same, and Jesus is the same this Christmas as he was last Christmas.
Yeah. So life and Christmas change, but it also remains the same.
Amen. That's a good place to finish our reflections today. Thank you, Rachel, for joining us, and we hope that you have a very happy Christmas.
Thank you, Adam, and thanks for the opportunity to spend time with you, and have a Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.